Goodbye, my son. Our hopes and dreams travel with you.
He'll be an outcast. They'll kill him.
How? He'll be a god to them.
So I know I'm late to the party on this one, but I didn't get a chance to see Man of Steel during opening weekend because I was actually on vacation. The day this was released, in fact, I was at the Grand Canyon floating down the Colorado River. Not a lot of movie theaters in the area, as I'm sure you can imagine. There's not a lot of civilization in the area. But anyway, I'm back now, getting back to the real world, so I had a chance to see Man of Steel at long last, and I have been looking forward to this movie pretty much since the day it was announced. And I have not been this disappointed with a movie in a long, long time. I don't know how they managed to screw this up, especially given the people that were involved. You know, this was written by the same guys who did the Dark Knight trilogy, right? Right? You know, that wasn't a joke. It really was them. Because that I liked. This... Oh God, what happened? I mean, it started out promisingly enough. Movie opens on Krypton. You got baby Kal-El being born. You got Jor-El telling the elders of Krypton, look, the planet is doomed. We got to do something. And they're like, psh, no, we don't. We're fine. And then General Zod busts in, is like, okay, if you're not going to do something, I'm taking over, bitches. And then he stages a military coup. Doesn't work. And he and his buddies get banished to the Phantom Zone. Baby Kal-El gets shot off to Earth, and Krypton goes boom. That entire opening sequence was awesome. I love what they did with Krypton. Visually, I thought it looked amazing. And I really liked what they did with the character of General Zod. You know, he's not trying to take over the world simply because he's evil, and that's what evil people do. He has legitimate motivations behind his actions. And he's actually a very sympathetic villain in that regard. You know, you can identify with this character. And even though it was a bit over the top and he spent a lot of time chewing the scenery, I kind of liked Michael Shannon's performance. I think part of that is because he was at least giving a performance. And because his character at least had some depth. Because I can't really say that for the rest of the movie. The rest of these characters are just so fucking bland, and the performances match. I have not seen this much underacting in a movie, I don't think ever, even from people who you wouldn't think would be capable of that. Like Kevin Costner, okay, I can kind of expect that. Russell Crowe, sure. Amy Adams? When has she ever underacted in anything? And I don't blame her. Hell, I don't even blame Russell Crowe and Kevin Costner because they have nothing to work with. So much of this dialogue is just exposition. There's no emotion behind it. There's no heart behind it. So, of course, there's no heart in the performance. They have nothing to work with. And the story jumps all over the place. Like, as soon as that intro on Krypton was over, I knew we were in trouble. You know, first thing that happens, we go back to the present day, and we get a brief glimpse of Superman in his daily life as a wandering nomad. Because I guess that's the only kind of superhero character Nolan knows how to make now. It's like, yeah, it worked for Batman, but Superman's not Batman. But anyway, then we get this flashback that to his childhood that just comes right the fuck out of nowhere. And after that's over, then we flash back to the present day. I shit you not, for about 60 seconds. Couldn't have been more than that. And then right back to another flashback to another part of his childhood. And the whole movie just keeps bouncing back and forth like that. If you're going to have all these flashbacks and nothing of any real substance between them, just tell the story in chronological order. It's okay. You're allowed to do that. Really. You are. And speaking of these flashbacks, it is my understanding that, you know, in Superman lore, the reason he grew up to be the purveyor of truth, justice, and the American way that we all know and love is because his parents, Jonathan and Martha, I think those are their names, someone will correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure, instilled a very strong moral background in this guy. You know, that's they raised him to be the ultimate Boy Scout. He's became Superman because of them. Not in this movie. Oh God, his mother does very little except for one flashback when he's very young and first discovering his powers, and his father pretty much spends the entire movie telling him, for the love of God, son, never use your powers, not even to help anyone. For the love of God, don't ever help anyone. Ever. Really? And they do explain why he has this attitude. He's afraid that if people find out who they really is, they're going to be afraid of him. They're not going to understand him. Okay. But man, he's taken it way too far. There's a scene I'm sure you've seen in the trailers where Superman saves a school bus full of children and he, tells his dad, what was I supposed to do? Just let them die? He's like, maybe. Worst role model ever. Fuck you, Jonathan Kent. You're an asshole. Ugh. So yeah, Lois Lane, played by Amy Adams. I don't know why she's in this movie, except because it's a Superman movie and therefore you have to have Lois Lane. She does absolutely nothing in this movie that has any effect on the plot, which makes it all the more confusing later on when... I'm going to get into spoilers, by the way, because I figure most people who wanted to see the movie by now probably have, so if you don't want spoilers, you should probably stop watching now. But anyway, during the course of the movie, thanks to her strong investigative journalism, she actually figures out that Superman is really Clark Kent. That's pretty impressive. I actually kind of like that at first, but it goes nowhere. They do absolutely nothing with it. And then later on, when General Zod shows up to invade the planet, and he tells Superman to turn himself in or he's going to attack, and he does because that's, the stand-up guy that he is, no thanks to his parents' upbringing. And when he turns himself in, they're like, wait, we will also take the human known as Lois Lane. I actually blurted out in the theater, why? What the fuck possible reason could they have for taking her? She means nothing. She's just a journalist. What has she done? What could she possibly know? Why do you want... Why? This makes no sense. The only reason she is taken captive is so she can help Superman escape. That's all. It's a plot device to help him escape. That's all. There is no reason behind it at all. It's stupid. And then... moving ahead a bit, the laws of physics apparently do not function correctly in this world. I don't know what the hell. Just for example, when Jonathan Kent dies, he and the family are just driving down the highway and then all of a sudden a tornado literally comes right out of nowhere. Now, I've never actually lived in tornado country. I grew up in Arizona where we get a tornado maybe once a decade and it lasts about 3 seconds. And now I live in California where we get a tornado about once every never. So, but I know that they have ways of issuing tornado warnings. Based on that, I assume that these are at least predictable to some extent. You at least have some idea where they are going to be and when. And you can't just be walking around, not a cloud in the sky, and all of a sudden, whoop, tornado! No. And the way the tornado takes him, he's just, you would think that something that generates that much wind would kind of whip you into the air and thrash you around a bit, and not just allow you to stand there and just be enveloped by this thing like it's just a cloud of dust. How does that even work? And further problems with the laws of physics later on. After Zod, basically takes over the planet, he tries to terraform it and basically create a new Krypton. And he does this with these two machines that he places at opposite ends of the Earth, and when they start their terraforming process, they do wonky things with the Earth's gravity. So things continue to bounce up and down and up and down and up and down. Except the people. The people can be standing right next to random objects in the street, cars, mailboxes, trash cans, whatever, that are all flying all over the place. The people are fine. Because they are apparently not affected by the gravity. I know it's a Superman movie, and Superman isn't normally affected by physics. That doesn't mean everyone isn't. This is dumb. This is really, really dumb. Oh god. And so the final battle, which goes on for quite some time with Superman against Zod and all his cronies. I will say this, it looks impressive as hell. It's very well shot. The special effects are fantastic. Props to Zack Snyder on this one. The guy may not be a great storyteller, sucker punch, but he knows how to direct an action sequence, and this is very well done. However, this did not make Superman look much better than the supposed villains in this story, because he is causing every bit as much destruction as they are. They pretty much destroy Main Street in Smallville. They ruin the hell out of that IHOP. The product placement in this movie is not subtle. And then when they go to Metropolis, it's even worse. Metropolis is pretty much reduced to a big pile of rubble. And which makes some of the dialogue all the more hilarious. There's one of the soldiers that, at first the army isn't really sure whether Superman should be treated as friend or foe, and then after they spend all this time destroying Main Street, it's like, it's okay. This man is not our enemy. Which I think they say more out of fear rather than respect. It's like, no, really, you're not our enemy. Honest, we like you. Yes, we really like you. Please stop destroying our town. Please. So yeah, and then later on, after Superman destroys the big terraforming machines, this one woman is like, he saved us. Superman saved us. Lady, look around. You are one of about 10 survivors in the entire city. Superman did not save you. You survived just because he didn't have time for you. You were lucky. Count your blessings. And the very end of this movie... Okay, so a lot of people seem to have problems with the fact that Superman kills Zod. I don't have a problem with that idea if it's done correctly. And I get what they were going for, but basically at the end of it, Superman more or less has Zod beaten, so he says, you know what, if I'm going out, I'm going to take someone with me. So he uses his laser eyes to try to destroy this family of innocent bystanders, 3 or 4 of the 10 survivors of Metropolis. And Superman is forced to make a decision. Either he lets this family die, or he kills Zod. I'm okay with this, and in fact, I'm kind of surprised there's so much backlash about the mere fact that he killed Zod, when I don't remember so much hate with Superman 2 when he did the same thing. I'll bet a lot of people forgot about that. But yeah, I'm okay with that. The idea, anyway. The execution, however, is crap, because there's nothing preventing these innocent bystanders from just running the fuck away. They're not trapped. They have plenty of room to run. It's only because of their stupidity that they're about to get killed and Superman has to kill Zod to save them. It's like, this is one case where I think Jonathan Kent was right. Let him die. It's their fault. But yeah, the best comparison I can make, imagine that scene in Goldfinger where Bond is strapped to that table and that laser beam is inching closer and closer and closer to him and, struggling to escape, and he's, getting pretty close to getting sliced in half. Take that, but remove all the restraints so he can run away, he can get up off that table and walk off anytime he wants, but instead he's still standing there just kind of paralyzed in fear. Imagine how stupid that would be. This is kind of the same thing. And then, after all that is said and done, Superman and Lois just start making out over the remains of Metropolis for pretty much no other reason than because it's Superman and Lois Lane and that's what they do. Because there was no hint of a romance before that. None whatsoever. Comes right out of nowhere. Just, ugh. So yeah, I'm not really angry, I'm just disappointed with this movie because it should have been so much better. And I know a lot of people actually did like it, and if you're one of them, I don't get it, but more power to you. But I was very disappointed.